Hey everybody,
What's up, guys?
here at the Iron Trap Podcast, broadcasting live for us and not live for you.
We're pretty close to broadcasting live. We're only about a day away from when this video comes out. So,
Yes, we've been very busy, and the content schedule has been catching up to us actually doing
yeah, it's been kicking us in the butt a little bit.
us doing the stuff. So, if you guys will get the normal stuff, make sure you subscribe and all that. Leave us a review if it's on Spotify or one of them. It's very helpful.
If you're listening on Spotify, this is a video where we're going to add some B-roll. So if you'd like to see some cool visuals, head to YouTube. You can see us and also see some B-roll from a past adventure over top.
So, some recap of some things going on or coming up. So we had Wheels of Time last weekend, and we don't do a ton of big shows. We get asked about that a lot. Honestly, our schedule is so busy. I'm not huge into really big shows, so we just don't. Our schedule doesn't allow for it. We don't make time for it, also. But that's one of the big ones, and we do that one. It's really fun to bring a handful of cars out. We actually sit still for a couple of days, so you can come by and give us crap or talk to us, say hello, whatever. And
All the above.
weather was perfect.
Yeah, the weather was about as good as you get. 3 days of high 70s, low 80s. The sun wasn't like insanely blaring hot, so it's a good time to hang out under a tent. Sometimes we sit there and just bake, and we have to bring our big shop fan and everything. So it was nice this year to be able to not yell at each other over the the fan.
Yeah, and the Wheels of Time show, they've been doing a great job. But the one thing I could say is some of these shows that have been around for a long time, you hear people complaining about the shows going downhill or not as good or they don't listen. The club Wheels of Time Club, the older members that are kind of running things are actually the opposite. They're like super receptive to what people think. In fact, after the event, one of the members that we coordinate with, Phil, sent us a text message to Mike and I and just was like, "What'd you guys think of the show? Do you have any suggestions? Is there anything like?" So they're actually actively trying to make it better. They really are great with us because they see the value in what us promoting and letting us to put some nostalgic cars around our area. Every year we start to see more people that are trying to park in our area, even if they come for one day. And it's like, if you're into that type of cars, now people are knowing that our corner is, you can look for that. So it's pretty fun. They overall everything was really good.
I drove my car every day to and from, so that was fun. It was nice to get some miles on it. It leaked a lot of oil, which we now fixed. So
It's all good.
hopefully going to enjoy it this last month or two of the season, and then just put.
You can usually listen to the speed of his barking. If it was somebody who was actually here, he just barks like very fast.
Just slow down. He's like, oh, I heard something. I'll be back.
Yay.
I hear him already. Oh, it's your dad walking.
Yeah, he's on his way back. Anyways, we always have interruptions. This should be the Moon Interruption podcast
Yeah.
because he's always nonsense. So we did that show. Mike drove his car, which was awesome and was really satisfying. I said to Mike when we went to dinner the one night, usually Mike doesn't get to go to the dinners or doesn't have time or just doesn't have a car, so it's not as exciting. So he made a point to go to dinner with us, a few of us that always go after every year, and seeing Mike driving away, our new employee Luke riding with him, like for me was super satisfying because it was like all that stuff we did. You're finally getting to enjoy the car, so like that is what makes, even though it was the most simple thing, it's like leaving dinner, nice weather. We got a friend in the car with you, and you're.
It was kind of cool. Luke didn't ask to ride with Matt. He's like, "You mind if I ride with you?" And I was like, "You want to ride in my?" I've never had anyone in it for going very far, so we'll see what happens. You might have to help me push it. Just a fair warning.
Yeah, so it was really cool that he did that. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Tomorrow, this obviously is on Sunday, but on Saturday there's Duryea Day, so I'm hoping to drive my car to that and then take it home and have it at home for a month or so, just to run errands, drive it to work, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So we brought the Merc out. The Mercury we mentioned in the week in the life of video, like literally the day before we were taking it, I was like welding new shock mounts on. So that was fun. Drove it. The overdrive worked. All that stuff seemed pretty good. It was really kind of surreal to drive that car again, with chopped and totally changed. The car, it's really weird. It was like, it's probably what it feels like to have sex with your wife after a boob job. It's like, it's the same, but it's better.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, wow,
Upgrades.
those titties are upgraded.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
We're 6 minutes into the episode.
I'm already like, kids can't watch.
Yeah.
Earmuffs.
I'm sorry to
Earmuff-
everyone.
Earmuffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it was like really cool because it's like the same car, like it drove basically the same, but this is my water bottle.
And you drove a different car every day. You drove the Merc there on Thursday.
Yep.
And then Friday you drove the DeLorean car.
Yes.
And then Saturday you drove the 38 convertible.
Correct.
So it was like every day there was a different vehicle.
That's one of my favorite things with Makunji because it's close enough to home. We go home every night. So I like just came back in whatever car. Next one I'm like, you know what? It'd be kind of cool to drive the 38 today.
Yeah.
And like drove that. So that was really fun. And we just, it's just a good time. So it's a good like rounds out our summer when we do that because a lot of times we're doing all this work and that's one of our goals is like by Wheels of Time, I want to get X car running, or we want to get X car running enough to put it on the trailer to show it in progress. So
Yeah, last year we got my car far enough along that I could drive it on and off the trailer to the booth. This year I drove it to and from every day.
yeah, that was our goal. That was
Yeah.
our that was our like hard goal for you is to drive it to the show and
Yep.
back. And then we brought the 32 Roadster, the old drag car out of Ohio, as the like as found in
That was
progress.
just a random. That was like
Last minute.
Tuesday before the show. We were just like, we should take the drag car. We'll put it in the back of Big Red. And then it was like, yeah, we're definitely doing that.
Yeah, so that was really cool because there was a lot of people that we put it on the end so you could see it. And it was the whole weekend I saw a ton of people coming over and just like what we would do. You're like, oh man, that's neat how they
Yeah.
did that, or whoa, it's crazy how the roll bar is. And it's just like, it's very unusual to see a as found old drag car. Like it happens, but it's getting less every year. So we thought it'd be cool before.
Just
we did.
as a lot of those shows, you very rarely see as found cars because
Yeah.
it's like a nice
Finished cars. Yeah.
all finished cars. I will say I didn't get any shots of it in the video. I missed it on Saturday. There was like a 49 or 50 Buick that a couple guys, it was a 4-door they found in like Jersey. They pulled it out of a barn on Sunday. They got it running and they drove it to the show on Friday.
That's wild. That's
It had
so
like
good.
50,000. It was a low miles car. It was, in decent shape, but like they pulled it out the weekend before, got it running and driving enough to drive it to Wheels of Time. It was so cool. Had like the lacquer was like peeling up off the roof. It was just a super cool looking car.
I love that. Yeah, that's fun. And it's cool seeing that stuff showing up to those shows that probably used to be a show where it was like only shiny street
Yeah.
rods were kind of like, now you're seeing that like everybody's accepting all that kind of stuff. And it's so cool to see the variety there. So that was really neat. So that was Wheels of Time. Looking forward, we have the Gascagoon show is a local one we do, and we set kind of hang out and swap meet. But we're really looking forward to Carlisle and Hershey.
Yep.
So we're going to start hearing us talk a lot about that. So if there's something, if you don't live nearby, or you're coming from out of town, whatever, and you want something big or you want a part, definitely communicate with us now because oftentimes we bring parts or batches of parts for customers, and
Yeah.
we either give them to them or maybe hand them off to a friend. The Underground Parts Railroad is very active.
I love handing off big fenders that I don't have to freight ship. So if
It's-
you're looking for something big, we'll cut you a deal and deliver it to both of those shows.
Yes, it's really good. So hopefully the weather is kind of like this.
Great.
We're due to have a Swedish young guy come and stay with us for basically like 3 weeks or something. He's coming over Carlisle and Hershey. He offered to come and stay and basically trade a room and board for working full time. So we're going to have him around. So
Yep.
future videos may see a young guy. I met him briefly when he came to tour my shop earlier this year. So I don't really know him, but he comes with good recommendations from Benny, who's his teacher, his shop teacher. So it'll be cool. So that'll be neat. I really like. It'll be fun. Him seeing our area in the fall, I think, is really beautiful, and he also gets to experience Carlisle and Hershey,
Yeah,
which
that's
is wild.
the
Like
dream.
that'll change your life, I feel like. So I can't imagine the culture shock of being a young man growing up in Sweden into cars, and you come here and you're like, literally, I think he's coming in the Sunday before Carlisle or Saturday.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So he's going to literally be like catapulted into Carlisle. Like we're going to be like, let's put the booth up.
Yep.
Let's do this. Let's do that. So it's actually very helpful because Mike and I were discussing how we're going to utilize Luke. Because we're trying not, Mike mentioned in the last podcast, like we're trying not to shut down our web store and eBay. So we were trying to figure out how we were going to get Luke to both help in the booth, help set up, but also do packages. So now with having this young guy, he can help us set up on Monday, and Luke can stay back and ship packages, and we're not like back to Mike and I trying to do it. Like having a third person is really helpful.
That tends not very fun to do with minimum people.
No. And then we can leave Steve back, and Steve can just work on the video mechanical stuff that he needs to do in the background.
Yep.
So it'll all the things are coming together. So
Slowly but surely. Spaces for Carlisle, N3 to N6, and then Hershey is C4T, 25 to 27.
yes. So that's pretty exciting. The mill, only other stuff I have for updates. People were asking us a lot at Wheels of Time about the mill. It's obviously a lot of people are seeing us for the first time since we bought the mill and showed that. So been kicking butt on the mill. I've been having some different, friends of friends contractor type deal that are coming in and doing it. So our friend Tony, who was recommended by Kurt, all great car people coming together. So Tony's been doing, he did the roof repair, and he's actually been kicking butt on the painting and stuff. So he came behind us after stripping the wall and getting some stuff ready. His daughter and himself brought a lift in, and they painted the whole side of the barn that we worked on repairing earlier this summer. And he actually has a gutter company lined up to put gutters on. He put fascia boards on. Like the building looks, he just has to trim out the white, but like when you drive up to the building, it's like
It's very bright.
it's very bright. It's way better. It's like the first thing you see when you come down that street, and a lot of people drive down that street. So it's really cool. It's exciting.
It's been cool to be there because, I pop in and grab parts or do things. Every time I walk out, there's someone driving slow past because like they've probably never seen it without asphalt shingles on the side of it. So I can always see people like slowing down and looking out their window and staring at it like, whoa, I've never seen that like that before.
Yeah, so we're working on that. We actually have another local friend that's started helping this week he's actually started on the other side of the building, and he's stripping off the shingles, and he uncovered a huge area while we were in New York earlier this week. He was working, and he uncovered a huge area. Now we got all these boards we got to fix where the bottoms are broken or they backed into the building, and just put a shingle over it.
Yep.
So he's working on we're now auditing what extra wood we have in the one barn that's leftovers or extras. And I was just there before the podcast. He's like, I think we have enough wood to fix that whole side of the building with old wood that's been saved in the barn, which is great farmer mentality.
Yes.
You don't throw anything away. So we're hopefully can repair a lot of it. So the goal is to have Tony come back around the other side and start painting all that building, fix the doors that are rotted. I've been working with a glass guy to get the windows fixed and repaired, and I've been putting windows in. So it's like
Did you see there's a window on the barn that needs to be?
That barn where he's at?
The back barn,
yes. So that one window might need a frame. It's that bad. So we were discussing that. But so we're making great progress. It's been my main focus. So we've had some people complain in the videos that there's not a lot of as much car work as they would like. Yeah. And unfortunately, our channel has kind of turned into documenting Iron Trap as a whole.
Yeah.
So part of Iron Trap right now and growing a business is we bought an old building, and we're fixing it up. So I apologize if you don't like the documenting of that stuff.
People have been complaining about the parts side of it, but that's the main part of our business is buying and selling parts. So those videos help get that, what we got for new inventory, and we sell a lot of parts off of those videos.
I know it baffles me why people only want to see the hardcore part of the building stuff, but like the other half of it is finding the parts and it's interesting. There's certain people that they don't want to see like whatever part of it. They don't want to see the hardcore building of cars. They just want to see the fun finding it. And then you get other people that are flip-flop, and they're like, I'm tired of watching these videos, you guys digging through garages. That's stupid. And it's like, well, actually, that's our most popular videos. So if we were really smart, we would just do picking videos, and it would probably make our channel even better.
Yeah.
So it's
Speaking of that, we just got back from New York. That video will be out, I think, Friday, and then we have some other things.
I got a new project.
Yes, there's a few things in the works that we're working on this month. I'm going somewhere next week, and we just shot a video this morning
I
for.
think we can tease one of our friends at Cabin Fever Auction Company.
I wasn't sure how we wanted to.
Oh no, I think we're all right. Cabin Fever Auction Company, friends of ours. We
Yep.
shot the Packard video with them, where they've been friends of ours before Iron Trap, was as big. And every now and then, when they get a really interesting estate, they call us and they're like, we got them to understand like how cool it would be to film the stuff. We did the Packard thing, and they saw how successful that was and helps their company because it gets them free advertising. So they called us while we were at Wheels of Time, like, we found a wild estate that we're going to be auctioning it off, and they started describing it. And then we coordinated today to go and film everything as is, untouched, and it's pretty insane.
It's wild.
I was pretty much like, screw you guys, I hate
guys.
you, but like, congrats, it's really awesome. 'Cause
Shaking their hand like, I hate you guys.
yeah. So which is funny, but it's cool to be able to do that. But like, they got an estate that's like if you're into old Ford stuff and hot rods and gas and oil and advertising, this one's mega.
It's the absolute dream.
It's probably the craziest one as far as advertising and gas and oil goes that we've ever seen in person in high concentration.
That video will be out in 2 to 3 weeks. We haven't finalized details of when, but keep an eye. Sometime in mid to late September, it'll be out, and it'll be pretty cool.
And we're going to help document with them as they're pulling some of the stuff out. We're going to have to stand next to everybody, or in this case, a lot of it's online. We're going to have to be bidding against all of you, everyone, just the same. We didn't buy a single thing. We just came in to document for them, which is just as fun for us. So to see the stuff as found and document, it's really exciting. So that's what's going on. So it'll be an auction, and there'll probably be multiple, not probably, there will be multiple auctions. It's going to be really good. It's going to be some high test stuff that you're going to have to.
This one, this estate's like an onion. There's just layers and layers and layers. You take a couple signs down, and there's more stuff behind that, and it's insanity.
It's going to be crazy. So that leads us up talking about auctions.
It's a good segue.
This podcast, we're going to do a reminiscing one, talking about one that we did 2, 3, 4 years. I don't remember. 3 years ago.
It's 2022. It was right after we went to. It was right after Hershey. After we went to Colorado for the Lonnie Beasley estate.
Oh,
it was right after that.
Yeah. So
I think it was 2022.
There was a legendary estate and auctions that happened, and it was the Mark Smith, right?
Yep, collection.
Mark Smith was if you didn't see these auctions or come across the collection, it was insane. Like, it just might be one of the biggest ones of our generation.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
It definitely was craziest I've ever seen, and they had lots and lots of auctions. So we ended up going to, I think they might have only done one in-person auction. I might be wrong.
I think so. I think the other ones were online automobile and some real estate. Yeah, and signs. That's right.
Signs. But they did so they did one big auction that was like at his properties, and this we didn't know Mark. A lot of this we're recounting this just through numerous people at the auction that we've met and people that knew him. So if you knew Mark and you're going to be like, that's not correct. I don't, not that we're saying anything crazy. It's just different stuff that people told us that we heard. So Mark was basically, from what we understand, was just wheeling and dealing and finding stuff his whole life. And he was really good at finding, original paint, barn find, really high test stuff that he was getting over the years.
It was actually a little bit of everything because he had a crazy Model A, Model T collection. And he also had like insanely high end.
Yeah, Duesenberg and stuff like that. So
his collection was kind of the gamut of everything. Yeah.
So this gentleman, basically, from what again, I'm not gonna sure some stuff I'm saying is not totally correct, but like basically he went to, I don't know if he grew up there or what, but he picked the town.
I think he was born and raised in that town.
Okay, so the town that in Virginia where they had the sale and his buildings were, he just started buying up all these buildings, and it was like, it's pretty cool because now that we bought the mill, it's like kind of the same thing. I could see it like where he bought like the old Coca-Cola
Was it like
factory.
a Coca-Cola bottling plant? Yeah.
And he bought an old dealership in town, and it's like I kind of see the allure of that as I've now going through a similar path. I'm like, it's neat to buy stuff in your hometown or a town that you lived in that you maybe saw that was like run down but really cool. So like he bought this Coca-Cola plant, bottling plant, multiple floors, and he just stuffed it with cars and stuff, and he preserved the building basically. The old dealership he fixed up and preserved the building and had his collection in it. It was just like all these really cool buildings that he bought in town. An old, I don't know what the one was, a huge factory,
That factory is massive.
massive factory he bought, and just like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars basically there, and there had already been cars and stuff. I think were moved even before the sale.
I would have loved to get into that estate when they started because they said the factory where all the cars were staged was just stuffed full of like the cars were there, but there was just mounds of.
Oh yeah,
They took like dumpsters and dumpsters and dumpsters of just like stuff out of there because he was buying at auctions and some of it was good car parts and some of it was just like stuff
Yeah.
like boxes of light bulbs and things. But they said they took like 20 some dumpster loads of just junk out of there, which would have been wild to see a front end of this super rare 30s car and there's just a pile of stuff on top of it. It was probably insane.
Yeah, so they had they started promoting the auction. It was a 3 day sale.
Yep.
We did all 3 days.
No, we left the second day. It was mostly British stuff the third
That's
day.
right. Yeah, yeah.
It was the first day was pallet lots,
Yes.
second day was cars, and then third day was mostly British stuff, but it was like smalls that they
Yeah.
pulled out that were higher end.
Yeah, yeah. So we saw the auction and heard about it, and all the folklore about it all, and we started looking into the previews, and it was one of those sales that was like super overwhelming. And the auction company, I don't care who the auction company is, it was so overwhelming. They couldn't have sold everything bit by bit. You would have had 100 auctions, and honestly, they probably didn't.
I think there was like 200 or 300 pallet lots of
Yes.
parts, and it was just like a pile of parts on a pallet.
It was crazy, and this huge factory, the whole exterior of the factory was just all the ground was taken up by pallet lots. So you figure there was a pallet lot, and then there was 100 items on the pallet lot, or there was like 10 sets of fenders, or there was like an engine and associated parts. So
And there's carcasses of cars mixed in.
oh yeah,
There's just like a chassis. We bought one of the chassis, had a pile of just body panels on top of it, and there was a ton of just like absolute randomness.
yeah. And what's exciting for sales like this for us is he was into everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting because you buy a pallet lot and it's like you're buying it because there's maybe a neat set of hubcaps and some stuff you see, but is there a Duesenberg part in
Yeah.
one of the boxes? So it was like we quickly realized when we started previewing the auction online and looking at the pallets, I'm like, there's like early Ford speed parts, and then there's a Rolls Royce or a Packard part mixed in with it, and you're like, dude, this is going to be crazy because no one could go through all those boxes and pallets and know what's on them. So everyone that's buying these pallet lots is kind of gambling.
Yeah.
It's like how they do the Amazon returns pallet lots.
Or the storage units.
Yeah.
You kind of just glance around and go, that's this, and this is what I'll bid up to because this is all I can see on the outside.
So we got the hotel. We did the whole thing because it's 3 days, and really, really cool. So we went up there, or down there rather, and got there it was the first day of the auction, right?
Yeah, we didn't get there.
We didn't go to the preview.
No.
Like the day before or whatever. Yeah, we got there the day of. We got there early, got our numbers, and then they're like, I don't know, maybe we got our numbers at 7 or 8 a.m., and then the auction started at like 9. Hey, that's enough. Come here.
It's a UPS guy, man.
Limpy dog, come here. Hey, go lay your butt down.
So one thing I will say, the auction is set up like a higher end auction.
Yes.
There was a cover charge to get in. It was what was it, $100 for a 3-day pass?
Yeah, like this was a big. It was actually good. So it was online auction for some of it.
All of it was online and in person. You could do
Okay.
both.
But what they were trying to do, and when I was younger, I used to bitch about this, but now I totally get it. they were trying to keep the riffraff out because you get these kind of auctions and it just like anybody in the town would have showed up and filled the building, and there was like 10% of the people were actually buying.
Yep.
The rest of the people are just causing a commotion. So they did $100 cover charge for anyone that wanted to bid in person. You had to do it. So it kind of sucked because it was Mike and I were bidding for the same cause, but we had to pay $100 each
Yep.
to get in. But we figured, you know what, there's enough stuff. It's the cost of admission. You couldn't just look at the stuff online, a lot of it. You had to be there and see it and bid in person.
And
So-
like most online auctions, they took like 2 photos of a pallet, one from this side and then one from the other side. They weren't like removing the items off the top and
Yep.
taking multiple photos. It was like 3, maybe 4 photos, and that's all you had to go off of.
Yeah, so we decided there was 3 properties split around this town. They
Oh, I
weren't-
forgot about the
they,
third one.
They weren't even close together. You know, there was the dealership, there was the
4 properties. Remember, there was that service station way out of town that had stuff at it.
oh, holy crap, I forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's 4. So he had 3. He had 3 in the city or town. where
Yeah,
it
they
was
were all
like-
about a block and a half from each other.
No, they weren't. The one factory we drove like 2 miles to. Remember?
Was the bottling plant that far away?
Not the bottling plant, the big factory.
I thought it was right down the street.
No, you had to go down and around, and it was this long industrial road.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was not
Close.
super
yeah.
close. It was 2 miles or
Yeah.
something or whatever, a mile. It was far enough that you weren't just walking, but like, and the town's like, there's some steep hills in the town. So we were like, okay, well, we need to split up, but the auction starts in an hour. So they were doing these pallet lots basically first. And there was pallet lots in this big factory in this huge, let's say a 20,000 square foot span. I don't know the span, but a big area. And then the other bottling plant had a ton of pallets in the second floor of it. So we kind of glanced at that stuff real quick, and then we were like, I got to go to where they were doing the first pallet lots. So basically, I went to on site, and Mike stayed in the auction hall because they had an auctioneer there with the big screen and they're bidding. And I basically was just going through the pallet lots ahead of them auctioning, and I'm looking at stuff, and I'd text Mike lot number XYZ. There's this, 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 and this. I'd go to this, or here's what it is, and Mike kind of knew. And he's just sitting there bidding on stuff. And
I will say, with a cover charge, it was free coffee and donuts, and there was an open bar. So
Bastard.
I was just sitting there drinking coffee and mixed drinks while Matt's digging through boxes, and I'm just hanging out, putting my hand up, bidding.
Another reminder where all these people that watch the videos and don't really pay attention to what goes on. Matt's usually in the trenches doing stuff. I'm not always,
Well, now I know enough. It would be different. I could be there, and you could be hanging out. But
Either way, I also enjoy the digging.
Yeah, oh, yes.
I enjoy being in the dirt doing this stuff. So for me, I was like, hell yeah, I want to dig through the
Indiana
pallets.
Jones.
Yeah, so I was in the pallets digging around, frantically trying to look at pallets and stay ahead of the auction because they move pretty quick at these
Yeah.
auctions. So I was looking through and Mike, this. There was an overhead. Was it Riley? Not a
Yeah.
Riley. A Kreger.
Kreger, yeah.
I think it was a Kreger. There was a Model A or B engine with a Kreger overhead valve conversion laying outside in a pallet. I'm like, holy, it was just crazy. This kind of stuff. There might have even been 2 banger engines in there. There was another banger engine with a finned head on it that was next to it. There was it a 36.5 window that was like a carcass that was cut
We
up?
bought that, yeah. It was
Yeah.
a 35, 36 body, just like old stock car that was cut to pieces.
And then there was Packard wheels. There was pallets with all kinds of wheels and just anything and everything. And I'm just running around trying to look through the pallets. And there was a couple things where you're moving some boxes. You're and it got rained on.
Yeah,
They
it
put
all just sat outside.
I think they staged the stuff in the spring, and it sat outside for the whole summer or something. It was not like they did it a week before. It was I think they did.
I think
it
they did it
months.
in July. I remember talking to the one guy that was in charge of the.
Oh.
He was the executor. Mark didn't have any family, didn't have any kids. So I guess there was a local guy that was that worked for him that he just left it all to, and some of his friends got some stuff, but he was the executor, and he was we did all this in July, hot as possible,
Yeah.
digging through all these buildings of stuff.
So the stuff sat there and got wet, but I was picking some of the boxes up. You could tell that no one before me had moved this box and knew what was underneath of it because I think a lot of people were bidding from out of town. There was a lot of guys that were at the site doing similar to what we were doing.
I think this is a week after Hershey, because I'm almost positive the preview fell on the week of Hershey.
Weird.
I'm pretty sure it
Or
was
maybe
like,
they did that because they figured people were in town. They'd drive.
yeah, I think
Which
it was like the preview fell somewhere right around
maybe
Hershey.
the preview was right after Hershey, and then
Yeah, because I remember a bunch of people complaining that it's like I couldn't do both. Go
yeah,
to Hershey and the preview.
yeah, you might be right. So we were just like running around, and it was nice because a lot of the stuff hadn't been touched. So I was picking up a box. You're like, oh, there's a good steering wheel under
Mm-hmm.
there. Set it down. We know it's there. Number whatever. So we started buying pallet lots, and I think we probably out of most people there, we were one of the biggest buyers of pallet lots. There wasn't because this auction was a lot of cars. There was what 100 cars or more
100 plus.
cars they were selling, and boats and all kinds of crazy stuff. That crazy camper that went for there was like a real early. I don't think it was Airstream. Remember that went for over
Oh,
$100,000.
yeah, it was it an Airstream?
Maybe it was. It was a real. It was like an early.
It was an Airstream, I think. Like a 30s Airstream.
Yeah, it was an early camper, and I guess it was a special model or something. And we were all like, "Man, that thing's really cool." And then it went like north. It went over $100,000, and we were like, "Whoa! I didn't know it was
Yeah,
that
it's
good."
wild.
And then there was like, there was high end cars. There was like Auburns and stuff like that. That was
There's a
in
bunch of
this-
Pierce Arrows with the headlights molded into
Oh,
the
yeah.
fenders.
So we were doing all the power lots, and we were buying like crazy.
It was
And-
actually kind of funny. The auctioneer saw we were buying large quantities, and some pallet lots would come up for no sale, like dirt cheap. And I'd be like, oh, well, there's at least one thing on that pallet. Like Matt was like, it's okay, don't spend a lot. And I just sit there and wait and wait. And he'd point at me and be like, you interested? Be like, $10. And he'd be like, sold. Because they would just, some of the stuff was just such a mess of
Yeah.
different things. It was hard for people to justify spending. So I just wait and wait and wait and be like, yeah, we'll take it for $10.
And you got to remember, most of the crowd that was in the room was people that were there for high end stuff. There was
Yes.
a lot of like, for that first like half a day or the first whole day, a lot of those people didn't buy a single thing. They were just there hanging out, and they were, you could tell a lot of those people they're a little fancier than we are, so they were sitting up towards the front. And they were better to do, and whatever. But it was obvious they were there for the cars, so it was like they were just kind of hanging out. So we were like, there was a handful of people buying stuff, but like we were, regularly hitting pallets, and so we were pretty active that first sale. So they were like, looking at us, but we knew that like all the people were there for the higher end, specific stuff.
A
But
lot of the higher end stuff they actually sold till the third day. It was actually in the auction hall where we were sitting. They had little tables set up with like, I remember there was that 37 Packard Trans. That was
we got that.
yeah. We bought the shifter top on a pallet lot, and we
Yep.
ended up buying the Trans. Someone bought it for us on the third day.
Our buddy Kurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kurt picked it up. He stayed for the day, but it was fun. So I remember like digging through there, the stuff that we got that was exciting that we found. We ended up getting some like,
Early Mercedes stuff. I remember that there was like 30s or 40s
yeah,
Mercedes.
we got some Lincoln K model stuff. I think that got mixed
Oh,
in.
yeah,
which
we got a K model grill.
that's right.
We had that. It took a while to sell because those cars they're very expensive, but the guys that are putting them together, it's not as a vast market.
Yeah,
What else do we get?
we got some Packard stuff that
Yeah.
was mixed in.
There was like literally everything. Some Jag stuff, some Benz stuff.
some early Ford stuff, of course.
There was a bunch of 17-inch wheels.
Oh my God.
I think we bought 5 pallet loads of 17-inch wheels. And
Mike was like yelling at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh,
they're cheap. I don't think we've bought 17-inch wheels on purpose since then because they're not. They sell. They're just slower movers, and we had like 40 pairs.
And then wheel spare tire bands.
Oh my
We
God.
bought like a whole pallet of them because there was like some 35.6 Ford ones on it and whatnot. And we were like, screw it, just buy the whole thing. Well, then when we got home, we got contacted by one of his friends who won't mention the name, but like
Yeah.
one of his friends that inherited some of the really good stuff. Contacted us, was like, "Hey, I think what we can always say." He's like, "I think my Duesenberg that I got,
It's missing some parts. And
it's
I
missing
think
some
you got
part.
'em.
You might have got some of the parts," and they're like hitting us up. And then he's like, "Well, I think there might be spare tire rings that are for either Duesenberg or high-end Packard or whatever." And he has to come and
Yeah.
see it. So I didn't actually get to go over and meet him, but Mike was at the old warehouse, and he came by and educated on some stuff. He bought some stuff, and
We bought some stuff on a hunch. There was a pallet of Packard wheels. Remember there was like 4 Packard wheels matched with white walls. And we were like, they're going really cheap. I think it was like 50 or $100. Like, we should probably buy those. Bought them, and then someone watched our unloading video, saw we got those wheels. He's like, they're like 35 Packard wire wheels. I have a 35 Packard. I have the wrong wheels. I need those.
Yeah, so that's what's really cool for all the people that complain about the unloading videos and the picking videos in our videos, in our channel. It's actually helps everybody. Not only does it help us sell product, it's also like that guy was probably watching our video because of the Mark Smith deal. He knew there was good stuff in it. And we had a lot of people that watched our video that didn't know who we were, that were maybe at the auction or watched the auction, and they just wanted to see. There was a bunch of videos that came out after that of other YouTubers that put it out. So we had some people that watched our unloading video, and they see that. We connect them with the right person that needs the parts, and it's just like it works out really well, meant to be type deal. So that's one of the good reasons why we do that. But yeah, we scored good. Did that guy come and educate us on some stuff? Wasn't there a guy that came also or he emailed us and educated us?
I think it was the guy that bought the wheels. I sent him some photos of some of the Packard stuff, and he helped educate. Because Packard stuff, there's like junior, senior, and there's also like big car past the senior.
Yeah.
It's many different model levels in 1 year.
And when you're low end guys like us, that anything Packard looks fancy. So we're like, wow, that looks really cool. And he's like, it's just a 6-cylinder part. But that other thing next to it inside the photo, that's actually like Coach Build XYZ, and that's really valuable. Like, oh, okay. So we got all that, but what was really cool was seeing all the cars in that factory and long building. There was like some of the most insane barn find and sign painted vehicles.
And it was a mix. Some of these collections we go into, they're hyper focused on one thing. This is like, there was farm tractors. There was all kinds.
There was a Porsche
Yeah.
Farm tractor there, which is insane to see. I mean, I've seen it in like museums and stuff, but like there was a Porsche farm tractor just sitting there. Like, when did you?
Wasn't there a tank in there too?
Might have been. I don't remember.
There's so much stuff, and there was like
Probably
early, like motor coaches that are like early RVs.
Yeah,
They're like
huge
20s and 30s stuff, and then in the Coca-Cola plant. Well, I should first say where the auction hall was in this old dealership. We were on the ground level, and the street was on a big hill. So the basement actually had a crazy they called it the A to Z collection.
Alphabet T collection. Yeah.
So it was like every body style and year of Model A and Model T.
Just Model T.
Just Model
T. They call them the Alphabet T Model T collection because the early T's were like Model A was actually a really early T. Yeah. So there's a bunch of those different variants of that. That's why they call them the Alphabet T, because it's really hard to.
But it was untouched. No one was allowed in there. Crazy signs on the wall.
Oh my God.
And the way the auction hall was set up, they had like porta-johns outside. Yep. You had to walk down the street past these windows and just look in. It's like all these great big Ford porcelain ovals. All these
Punch
great
tin Ford signs that are like insane. Yeah.
And you could see everyone was walking by and like wiping the dust off the window and looking in. So all the glass was like smudged from people trying to look in. And that collection actually ended up going to
Three Dogs.
So if you go visit Three Dog in the one building, it's all Model A's.
Yeah, he has in memory of Mark. They were I guess really good friends. So he ended up with basically that whole basement, from what we understand, and they pretty much took everything out of it, and they put like in their collection. If you ever are fortunate enough to go, they do open houses occasionally, but it's mostly private. They have a whole area where it's just like all these crazy signs. They're all the signs from, most of them are from that basement. All they did was move the stuff over, cleaned it up a little bit. They handpicked, I think there were so many cars, they didn't put them all there, but they handpicked them. And pretty much the upstairs and downstairs, I think
it's all just from that room.
Majority of that's from his collection in that room. So it's really cool to see them now out in the light.
And in person, just because we were just peering through the little windows trying to stare at it.
So there was like, that collection, we couldn't see it all, but like then when we went to see it in person, when they finished that section of their building, it's like there's a 32.3 window that's like painted a weird gray color, but it's just like the dream. It's like so cool.
Some early like race cars that were overhead.
T race cars upstairs.
Amazing.
Yeah. and but like all that was really cool. But it was like a tease. And then in the bottling company, there was also we bought some pallet lots up there, and it was on like the third floor, and you could kind of it was like the office area for like the bosses, and it was like you could look down to where the bottling plant was on the first floor and see the floor of the factory.
Stuffed full of
And
cars.
there was cars, and you could see them all. And we're kind of like peering over the railing, like, "What is that? What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, those cars are for friends, or they're not for sale." But it was just like surreal to be able to walk in these old buildings, and there's just what we saw was insane. I couldn't imagine when the stuff was unorganized,
Oh,
just like everywhere.
craziness. And the stuff in the bottling plant looked like it had been there for 40 years. There was like just absolutely covered in dust, untouched. Like those photos you always see of like crazy barn finds, times that by 50 cars. And they're all exactly parked perfectly, like barely any room between them, just covered in dust.
But it was fun because we were going through and like you could see where because when these auction companies clean this stuff up and then they make pallet lots, they sometimes because they have a lot of workers, usually helping with this laborers. Remember there was like a Model A Roadster pickup that was strewn across the room.
Yeah.
It was like the cab was here in the bed, and then the rest of the parts were here. The windshield frame and some of the stuff was on this.
You need to buy 7 pallet lots to make a complete roadster pickup.
So it was funny because we were like, somebody online I think bought the Roadster pickup body, but they couldn't see on the pallet lots that the windshield frame and the this and the that was on the other lots, and we were like buying that stuff for pennies or cheap, and it's like, well, they separated it all.
We bought like a 40 or 41 old banjo steering wheel, and the steering wheel was on one pallet and the horn button was on a different pallet. And Matt found them and was like, "You need to buy these 2 pallets because there's stuff on both of them that go together, but they're
we were
totally
doing
like
that.
10 lots apart."
And there was stuff where there was like there was 3 wheels on one pallet, and then all the way across the freaking parking lot was another lot that had the 1 wheel to make a set. So we were like, I had in my phone, my notes in my phone, we share that app and stuff. So I was like uploading lot this, it has 3 wheels, and this lot has this one. So
And he's taking photos of the pallet too, and I'm trying to go through. They had like a nice auction, so they had a folder you could go through with photos with each lot. So I'm like frantically trying to make notes of what he's sending me, make notes of what we bought as it's going through. It was like
as he's bidding.
I was like flipping through the pages frantically and bidding. It was a lot of fun.
We probably looked like crackheads.
Yeah.
All the other people there are very calm, and they're just waiting for their, for the Packard to come up for sale or the whatever, and they're, drinking the whatever, and we're just like, he can't miss it.
Yeah.
And I'm running around like.
And then the second day we switched spots, and Matt got to hang out and watch all the cars get auctioned off.
Yeah.
And we only, if Jason, do you think we would have tried to buy anything if Jason didn't want that tea?
Yes.
Because there was some stuff
I was reserved on a few things. Well, I shouldn't say that. We would have figured it out if it was cheap enough. But there was some stuff I was a little more reserved on, and I was like, I don't know. And I think our buddy Jason, good friend of ours, has been gathering parts to build a Model T Roadster pickup, like a little 60s style, we'll call it, or 50s style, like bruiser kind of hot rod. So he has a real short bed I found for him at Carlisle one year.
I think that might have been the same year.
I don't remember, but we found him a bunch of stuff. We found him some Y block that he wants to put in it, and that different place he went with us. And he needed a good front cowl section. So we were looking through the auction, and then we forwarded to him like, dude, here's a front half of a 26.7 T Roadster pickup with no bed or turtle deck on a frame with an engine in it. And we're like,
it was like a complete Model T minus whatever was on the back, a bed or a tub.
And we're like, this is going to go cheap because any of the guys that are antique guys or, a lot of the people there are probably bidding on complete cars. This thing's kind of like, and it wasn't apart in a good way. Like the way it was it just didn't present well. Yeah. But all we knew is that body portion looked nice. And then we got there, we looked at it, and like texted like, dude, it's like totally rust free, really nice. This is the one. So we brought our trailer, but we were making space knowing that like we were buying this for him. So like there was some Model A's and different stuff that I was reserved on because it was like we didn't want to make a second trip just for his thing or a Model A I bought that we were only going to make a little money on. So we ended up not buying any cars. There were some cars that I was just totally delusional that I thought maybe I could buy. So there was a 32 Phaeton that I think actually Three Dog has now. There was a B model or there was a standard. It's very unusual. It was like a barn find, and it was a 32 Phaeton, but it was a standard, which usually the Phaetons were not standards. But total barn find, black paint, so kick ass. And I was like, that thing's kind of rough. There's all kinds of like high end cars around, and maybe I'll go to 20 grand on that or something. Whatever I said, and it was like in the first 15 seconds, it was like
Never mind.
25,000, and I'm like, I didn't even get the bid. I'm like, oh, that was fun. But I'm like, all like, man, I do this, and
Yeah.
we're at dinner the night before the sale, and I'm like, oh man, that
Looking
thing
at
is
photos.
so cool, and I'm gonna do this, and blah, 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 blah. It was like in 3 seconds, my dreams are crushed. But there was like some crazy stuff. There was that camper. There was that Coca-Cola bottling truck.
Oh, that's right. Filled with bottles.
And I don't know if it came out of the same plant and it was
Yeah.
in there, but I think it was a Chevy.
Uh-huh.
But it was
Big
maybe like a
truck.
30s Chevy, like 1 ton or 2 ton truck with the back body was just filled with all the crates of Coca-Cola bottles.
There's
and it was
probably like
filled.
500 Coca-Cola. It was insane.
They sold that. There was just like some
I
crazy.
remember that early shit. What was that car that sold? That was super rare.
Oh, it was like the weird front on it. Was it a German car or something?
I think so. Shit, I'll put a clip of it here. I can't remember
It's like
it.
super rare, weird looking car, but there was like hardly
One
any.
of 5 produced or something crazy like
like
that.
Jay Leno has one, and that's about it. And
Yeah.
then maybe one other museum.
And they had 2 or 3. So they also had a sign auction the fall or the spring before. That was just signs, like great signs. And the room we were in for the auction still had all the signs and neons in it. These are just signs that were elsewhere.
Yes.
So in the spring prior, they had a sign auction, advertising auction. And then they did this 3-day auction. And then the next spring, they had a high-end car auction that was like $1 million insane nice cars. So all the cars that were basically sold for this 3-day auction were the projects or like rougher
Yeah, it was
cars.
pretty much all project cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that you say that, they were like the as found, type stuff where he was just like, I think from what I understand, he was like, I think even in our area, it turns out like a lot of the Model A's and T's that are original paint, they're like lettered up or they're from our area. And I understood through the grapevine or something that maybe he used to have a property or a barn he had in this area, and he was actually like, he was picking in this area. So it's oddly enough, there's a bunch of vehicles that are in his collection at Three Dog that you look at where it came from, like, whoa, that's from like 20 minutes from here, or the business name that's hand painted on it. So he had so many high concentration of like lettered up original paint, like, and it was crazy to us because he was buying that stuff. We talk about a lot. He was buying that stuff when it wasn't as cool.
Yeah, 70s, 80s.
Like it wasn't. There was such a smaller group of people appreciating that. So like when he was buying that stuff, the stuffy restoration crowd that he probably kind of hung out in, they were like, well, why wouldn't you redo it? Like everybody would just take a really nice Survivor car and you restore it.
Yep.
And you take it out to Pebble Beach or you take it to whatever. And then here he's got this building full of like crazy stuff that's like as found.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really neat to be able to like in one building look at 100 barn finds or however many cars, and just like every one you looked at, we're just like, man, this is so cool. It's got the whatever, the little plate topper that's on it.
Yeah.
It's like frozen in time. So it was worth it, even though we didn't buy any cars to just see all that. But there was some cars that went quite affordably. It was just like
Definitely.
looking at it, you're like, man, that thing's cool. And then that fourth property, they had like, there was like a bucket truck and there was like big
A boat.
a boat. There was a bunch of vintage boat stuff that was
Yep.
over there. It was really killer.
What did we buy in that building? You bought a cabinet.
I bought a bunch of stuff over there.
Remember we couldn't find the cabinet?
Oh, yeah.
Because the photo made it look really big. We're like looking all over, and then it's like, it was still a decent size, but we thought it was like a 6-foot tall cabinet. Turned out to be like a little 3-foot one that goes on top of like another cabinet. It was just like in the corner, bro. Like, where is this
like
thing?
somebody stole my shit because there was
Yeah.
like so many people. There was stuff like going missing or misplaced or whatever, and I'm like, man, somebody came in here and stole my cabinet. And we're like, oh, it's that one.
Yeah. The good thing I will say, because there's 2 of us, when Matt once we finished bidding, we went and loaded up a bunch of stuff, like the really good stuff, so it didn't go missing. And then when he was bidding on the cars, I was actually at the other property loading up everything that we bought, getting it packed away. And
We were one of the first ones to get a car out, right?
because of me,
Yes.
he was bidding and he won Jason's car, and it said, "This is our bidder number. We want it. It's not paid for yet, but all I want to do, because the factory was so big, the Model T that we bought was in the far back corner, and I was like, can we move these 3 cars, get the T outside, we'll leave it on the property, my buddy will pay for it, he'll bring me the invoice, and then we can load it up. I just want to get it out because it's in the shittiest spot. As soon as the auction ends, we're not going to get out of here till like 10 o'clock at night. Everyone's going to show up trying to get their
or
shit.
even the next day, there was people that were staying in the next day because there was like 1 or 2 guys that were moving cars or
Yeah.
had a forklift. And it's like if we knew the mad dash. It's like when you go to a concert or a sporting thing at a stadium. You're like you leave before the game ends because you know how the game's going to end. So people start leaving ahead of
Yeah.
time. We were like, you know what? Most of the cars that are left, we're probably not going to buy anything. That's what we went for. Is as far as cars go, we wanted to get our buddy and Jason that car. So we like tag teamed it. Mike's like, I got the car out. We're like, whew.
And it was wild because, everyone was there buying parts the day before. All those same people were then trying to buy cars. So I was like the only person. There was like 1 or 2 of us there loading up parts. So I just started talking with the dudes running the forklift, being friendly. And then after a while, I was like, hey, we just bought this car inside. You mind like giving me a hand? We'll move some cars around. We can get it out. They're like, yeah, that's no problem. They were doing nothing all day long.
So
it was
fast forward like 2 hours, and they were getting
mobbed.
bombarded with people that were insisting that you do their car first or whatever. So we did not plan to stay an additional day. Typical of us, we had schedules. So we were like, we got to be home tonight.
Yep.
So we got the car out, got it loaded up. We packed the freaking trailer to the gills.
Yeah,
with
it was full.
stuff.
The cabinets were all full. It was packed everywhere.
Yeah, and it was just like, it was kind of wild, and it was mayhem when when the auction ended and everybody started like pulling their pallet lots out.
Yeah.
Because then again, we kind of got started, and then people were mobbed, and wasn't it like they had contracted laborers, like a company, to do the moving of stuff, and they were just like, "Yep, it's 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. We're not moving anything else. We're closing the gates." And they were
Yeah.
like yelling at people. And we luckily got started early enough. We got all our stuff out of there. But they were like, we had to beg them to move like the last pallet because they were like, "Nope, everybody's done here for the day." Like a labor union. They're like,
Yeah.
"Nope, no exceptions." There was people like shouting at them like, "Are you kidding me?"
The first day was like that because the auction ended, say, at 4.
Yeah.
We went down and started loading stuff up right away. And then at like 5 o'clock, they're like, we're closing the gates. You guys are going to have to wait till tomorrow. Sorry about your luck.
So we got our good stuff out. That was our goal. We were like, we got to get our good stuff out today because they weren't really watching this stuff. So if somebody came the next day while we're at the auction, they could be vultures picking
Yeah.
off our pallets and we could do nothing about it. So it was a catch-22 because like when you buy stuff at auction, it's like when the hammer falls, it's yours. They're not responsible for whatever happens. But then they won't let us take our stuff because
Yeah.
they closed the gates and it was a pain. So we're kind of veterans at this, so we were like, you know what? Let's get all the easy to steal stuff that's worth money off our pallets, and then we'll come back and pick through the pallets of all the other stuff the next day. So we got most of the good stuff
And
out.
actually being there all day and digging through it, they were very adamant that you had to take the entire pallet. So I was just like, well, let me reorganize some stuff. And I was throwing junk onto one pallet that we weren't going to take and just taking the good stuff. So they were like, you have to take all of it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is someone else's pallet, and just left it behind.
And that was a total bullshit thing. They can't force you to take
Yeah.
whatever. Like, that's your stuff. You have to take it. What are they going to do? Like, send me a letter? Like,
Yeah, you left all this
fuck
behind.
you. I don't care. You guys make so much money on this
We
auction.
actually still have some stuff left from Mark Smith. I have one like pallet with some boxes of just
really?
like
Randomness.
randomness that I'll probably never identify.
And a lot of those auctions too, like, even though I'm being like a jerk about it, it's like every one of those auctions, there's always the scavengers at the end of the auction that they come around and they're just basically like, you know what, this is the last day of pickup and it's 2 hours before pickup. Anything you want here is free. So people took that stuff or they dumped. There was so much junk there. They were going to have dumpsters for weeks.
So Matt mentioned earlier, we bought a chassis at the auction. It turned out to be a Plymouth chassis with 35/6 sheet metal piled on top of it. So we bought this and we were like, how are we going to get this into the trailer with Jason's T? Because they're going to.
There was no way. It was
Yeah. So I was loading up the body panels and this old dude comes by and he's like, what, did you guys buy this? I was going to bid on it and something happened, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, we bought it, but I don't want the chassis. I just want the sheet metal that's on it. He's like, well, I just wanted it for the chassis. I was like, I'll sell it to you. So we sold the chassis to this guy. And then I had to write a letter, handwritten letter with both of our signatures to the people that were handling pickup. Like, we bought this lot, but I sold the chassis to this guy.
Yeah,
That's
because you had to show
com-
they were being good. They were making. They had like security at the gate. Because I
Yeah.
think after the first day, there was already people that had their shit stolen. So
Yeah.
they then made you, before anything left the gate, you had to show one of the workers your ticket with your number and that it was paid. So
I had to like make a photocopy at the hotel of our invoice with that lot on it, and then talk to everyone there. But like, this guy bought the chassis from me. He's gonna pick it up. So it was like bought it for like
$60.
it was certain dirt cheap, and I sold the chassis for like $500 on the spot. Took the cash, just like
That's hustling 101,
Yeah, it
ladies
was-
and gentlemen.
it was pretty funny. It's the first time I've ever bought, Map the company bought it, but
Yeah.
bought something at auction and then sold it to someone in the same
I
parking lot.
used to do that all the time when I used to do auctions by myself. I would buy pallet lots, and then people would be like, I don't know why. People would be like, they didn't want the whole lot, and they were scared, and they'd be like, well, I just wanted the one thing off the whatever. I'm like, okay. And I would stand there and sell crap. I'd buy a pallet lot for $1 or $2. And by the time all these vultures were picking off my pallet for like the rest of the auction, I'd be like, I'd make $100 and they wouldn't even take the thing I wanted. I'd take the thing I wanted, put it in my truck, and I'm like, oh yeah, I bought those 3 pallets. Oh, how much for the vintage hair dryer? I'm like, I don't know, give me $3. Okay. And like, so it's like the same idea. You're like, there's always guys that are like, oh man, I wanted that. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Sweet, sounds good. You
Yeah.
want to buy it?
And a funny thing about that auction, there's the one guy, Pete, that in Pittsburgh that buys and sells.
Yeah.
And Iron City, a similar name. We see him around. We're friendly with him. He bought a pallet lot that I missed. There was a Ford Coupe deck lid on it, and he doesn't really know that stuff as well. He kind of spreads himself around with all different stuff, but mainly like 50s and 60s stuff.
Real big truck guy.
Big truck guy, and we're friendly with him. So sometimes he'll send us a message or he'll in person be like, "Oh, what's this?" So we were loading up. He goes, "I bought this deck lid. What is it?" And he flips it over. We're like, "Fuck, it's 32."
32, yeah.
And we're like, "Damn it!" So he's like, "I'm like, oh, I'm interested." And we were trying to play the game, and then he had a mutual friend in Pittsburgh that's an early Ford guy, and he hit him up, and the guy's like, "Oh, it's 32." Well, then he tells us some like price that's higher than we want to pay, or no, I think his friend in Pittsburgh said, "Oh, I'll buy it."
Yeah.
So he takes it home.
Fast
And-
forward 4 Carlisles later.
4 Carlisles later, I'm like walking by his booth, and I'm like, "What's up with that?" He just had like Ford Decklid or whatever. He was just like, Decklid. I'm like, "What's up with that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got that the Mark Smith on." I'm like, "We tried buying that."
Yeah.
He's like, "Okay," and we ended up buying it years later. That he just, I guess his friend never bought it, and it was kicking. He has a lot of stuff like us. It's
Yeah.
kicking around, and finally it's at Carlisle. I'm like,
It's so funny. I think it's still up on the shelf.
I think I did
It's
keep that
super
one.
nice that we took one of the other ones. It wasn't as desirable.
That's what was bumming me out because it was so nice, and
Wow.
I was like, I wanted it for me, and he's like, "Nope, I'm gonna take it home." I'm like, no.
Yeah, it was like just the Declan was just sitting there. Matt never flipped it over to see what it was. Like, it's not that good. And I was like,
I thought
oh,
it was
shit.
I thought it was Model A, so we didn't bid the lot up as high as
Yeah.
we should have. But it was fun because we were like 3-day auction. It was kind of like it was like Hershey. Like we went to dinner with Kurt and some of our friends, like each night and hung out. And, it was
And we
like-
knew like Pete was there. We were busting his balls as we were
Yeah.
bidding on stuff because we were all bidding against each other. It's just that was a fun auction because it like we were just sitting down in a hall, not like outside in the rain being miserable. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everyone was friendly because it was pleasant. It
yeah,
wasn't cold
yeah.
as shit or
We just couldn't
rainy.
be as much of assholes as,
Yeah.
as we like to be other places, like really making fun of each other or causing trouble because it was a more professional
Yeah.
type setting. But it was like very surreal to be sitting in that dealership with these insane signs.
Oh,
And
dude, the signs are
people
so-
told us stories that he used to have. Where were we at? We were at the MB Center recently. and
Yeah.
they were some of the guys. I think that's where we were.
Yeah.
The guys were telling us that like some of the guys that run it were telling us that like he used to have these crazy Christmas parties, and you would go and they were just like over the top catered, and he had all his stuff there, and it's
And
like,
what's crazy is that town, there's not a lot going on there anymore. It's kind of a smaller town in Virginia. All the industry, obviously Coca-Cola plant's empty. A lot of the industry is left. So like he bought all these like insane buildings and was like doing fun stuff with them. It wasn't decrepit. Kind of helped keep the town alive a little bit.
yeah, it was really really cool. So that sale was.
That was one. That's a legacy. That's you'll never see a sale like that for many years. I'm sure.
I don't know if we'll see.
The volume.
The volume was pretty crazy. I mean, volume and quality. Because I mean, even we were buying a lot of low end stuff,
Yeah.
quote unquote, and it was like there was just as much of like really good stuff. And how many sales did they have? They had a bunch of sign sales where I saw
Like,
there
they
was
had two of them.
there was more than that. I think because I saw auctions that they were having with other auction companies
Yeah.
that were.
Yeah, it's wild to think about not just the amount of car stuff, but also like high end. He had like the best of the best porcelain signs. Like they had the one auction they had before they did the car auction. There was like 300 plus lots of signs, and then they had a second and I believe a third. Just the amount of signs and cars and parts is absolutely insane. And Mark wasn't that old.
No, he passed away young. I think in fact he had at Hershey.
Yeah.
He had a health incident, and then he, unfortunately passed away shortly after. But it was like,
He was
like
60, I think.
yeah, he wasn't real old.
Yeah, it's-
and
Imagine if he lived and kept on buying the way he was buying.
I think a lot of that stuff was bought long ago.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, but
definitely.
I think he was. A lot of these guys, you get in that upper echelon of buying cars privately, and I think they were a lot of that stuff that those guys were finding in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, before the internet was big, was a thing or was big. There, a lot of that stuff nowadays, it kind of just trades hand privately in the high end crowd. But they were like, they were in the era where you could heard about a Duesenberg or heard about a Packard, and they were, finding it in the
Yeah.
wild, and it wasn't some secretive internet deal where, whatever. So I think there's always been that secret society of the high end stuff, but I think it's even crazier now
Oh,
with
yeah,
that.
definitely.
So they were doing it in that era. That's pretty cool. But I think they were still playing in that world where they were coming across cars that were
Imagine finding barn find Duesenbergs.
Jesus, that'd be insane.
Yeah.
Any of those cars, like a barn find, like I should say Packer, but like some kind of crazy coach built, or that whatever that weird German or whatever it
Yeah.
was car. Like, how do you find that? I don't even can't even fathom it. But we do it on a smaller scale. But he was really buying it, and I don't know if he was also. I heard some people say something that like he was real heavy, Carlisle or Hershey and stuff like that. Like
And auctions, too.
walking around and just plucking out, like we're buying parts. These guys were walking around like, oh, that's an original Paint A. Let me buy that. Let me buy that. And I think just Hershey and auctions were the Wild West before the internet, where you could just, if you had the money, and this guy obviously had the money, he could walk around with insane money and just be like plucking boom, boom, boom. And I couldn't imagine the cars and the stuff that was for sale that he
No.
bought and sold, from what we understand, like had a business buying and
Yeah.
selling antique cars. So imagine the stuff that passed through his hands over the years. that
Probably
he sold.
responsible for a lot of those high end cars coming back into the world that were barn finds.
Yeah.
On the East Coast, at least.
Yeah, he was, from what we understand, was one of the big people of finding that stuff. So it was really cool. Those auctions, I wish it's neat to get to those, because are the auctions that there's very few every year. There's less of them because we've talked about like it's nearly impossible to gather a collection like that without being insanely either independently or generationally wealthy. And so we're seeing less and less of those sales. So to be able to go to that just to have those stories and the
Yeah.
experience, like your son's not gonna be able to do that hardly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be these well-known collections. It's more like public. A museum goes out, or a private collection that was a museum, or
Yep.
whatever. These more things.
And it's not going to be the stuff that Nate will see is more collections of just cars, where it wasn't like a collection of parts, cars,
stuff.
Yeah, and stuff. It's just going to be a collection of 100 nice shiny cars.
Curated collection.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than a you think of
A stash of hoard of parts.
you think of a Jay Leno or a Three Dog or a, whatever insert collection or museum here. There's going to be stuff like that where maybe they, closed the museum or they're offing some stuff that they don't have anymore. And it's going to be like very curated, where this was like, had great stuff, but he was just buying in excess that it was kind of like the collections we go into,
Yeah.
but just on a freaking grand scale.
Times 10.
It was just insane. So probably my favorite thing that out of all his auctions that sold was that 32 Chrysler,
Oh, yeah.
and I think actually it's in collection locally. The 32 Chrysler that was an old Philadelphia. It was a 32 Chrysler like Imperial like roadster, but a stretched out coach built type body. But it was like hot rodded in like 32 or 3 or something.
That was the one that went in the higher end auction.
Yeah,
right?
and it went for like $1 million or
Yeah, a lot.
1.2.
That was
or
like,
so.
this thing's so cool. I'd love to own it.
Yeah, we were picking at. It was funny when they had that sale after that with some of because there was also some cars in that auction that were obtainable for us.
Under 6 figures, definitely.
Yeah. There was definitely some cars that were like, there was some stuff that was like, 20 grand or something that a normal person could have potentially bought. So on me not knowing how crazy that car was rarity wise, I'm like, that's the one. I would add all these cars. That's the one I would pick. And like, just for fun, you're watching the auction to see what it goes for. And then afterwards you're like, okay, I thought it was going to be like an $100,000 car. And I'd be like, oh man, if only I had to.
Did RM Sotheby's do that one?
It might have been.
And
yeah.
on some of those, it'll give you like an estimate. And I remember looking at that when it was like $500,000 estimate. I was like, that's not going to be affordable.
Yeah,
and
no.
it was expensive.
Yeah, but that car was cool because it was like factory hot rodded. It had like Stuart Warner gauges and stuff in it. And it's like a bunch of things done to it that were, 30s period modifications.
Killer.
And the thing was just like,
Hopefully I can find some photos of it. I'm sure the auction page is still up somewhere.
probably has the photos. Just like an amazing, just long, drawn out, beautiful 30s car. And like for a split second, you daydreamed, and maybe someday I could afford
I could sell everything I possibly own to own this one car and still not be able to afford it.
Probably the opening bid I could.
Yeah.
I could probably sell everything I own and not even the opening bid.
I didn't even have the fun of raising my hand once.
Nope, not even. So some of those auctions are fun though, because when they do the pre-bidding, I do that sometimes just for dreaming. I'll put bids on stuff that I have no space to be bidding. No, I shouldn't be bidding.
You have no right to bid on that at all.
Right. That's the term I'm looking for. It's like I have no right to be bidding on this. But let me put a bid on it. I was winning this Duesenberg for $25,000 for like 3 seconds.
Yep.
Not Duesenberg. I don't bid on that. But like that would have been. There's sales like that where I bid on stuff, and I'm like the Mecum auction had the Ardens and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, for 3 days I was winning the bid at $2,000. It's like it went for $50,000 for the engine. I'm like, oh, okay.
I did bid on it. I almost bought it.
Yeah.
Those are those stories you always hear where old guys are like, I almost bought it, and they're the one opening bid at the auction, and the car goes 10 times more than they were going to pay
So
for
I
it.
could tell that story when I'm older. I'd be like, yeah, I'm like,
I almost bought a
I almost
Barn
bought
Find
a
Arden.
Yeah, Barn Find Arden for $2,000. It was me up until the very end, and then that man, I
Ran it up to $50,000.
yeah, and then I fell asleep at the computer, and I just forgot to bid on it. But I would have bought that thing.
Yeah.
Right. So, but anyways, it was fun to reminisce about that one.
Yeah.
That was a good one, and it made us think of it because of this auction that this auction is nowhere near like the Mark Smith, but on a small scale locally, it's a really, really good one. So it made us start thinking about, well, what's a good auction we haven't talked about in a while? And that one was probably one of the most epic that we'll get to experience, at least have experienced until this point. So really fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you didn't, if you're just listening, like Mike mentioned in the beginning, our YouTube channel, we also put the podcast on there so you can actually see some visuals. Mike will be dropping in some different stuff on that. So it'd be really fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We do these podcasts weekly. So if you guys are interested, you can definitely subscribe and listen or watch. And as always, we appreciate you guys following along. We'll catch you next time. See ya.